Our final session highlights a topic on the minds of every industry. The water industry, unfortunately, is no exception. This fact, despite how vital clean water and sanitation is to every person and every community, and the fact that the water industry represents an enormous range of skill sets, rewarding career paths, long-term security. How do we collaborate to collectively tell this exciting story better to more people to foster the next generation of our water workforce? Here to help us consider these thoughts are three panelists who are experts in this space and bring both successful water workforce development program experience and a desire to deepen the support for our North Bay region. With us is Stephen Currie, Workforce Development Program Manager with the Contra Water District and BAYWORK Vice President. Jordan Damerel with Assistant GM and District Engineer for Fairfield-Suisun Sewer District, and Elizabeth Toups, who's the Manager of BAYWORK. And so I'm going to turn it over to this awesome panel. Take it from here. Jordan, are you first?
Much. Yes.
All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So as you heard, the three of us are all from different places, but we're here representing an organization called BAYWORK. Just real quick, show of hands, who's heard of BAYWORK? Love it. Great. Good. I'm going to be a little vague for a few minutes about what BAYWORK is. So if you don't know what it is, just hold on. We're gonna do some interactivity later that's gonna help share that message. So we're here today to talk about another asset that water and wastewater agencies have that we haven't really spent much time talking about today. We've talked about infrastructure, we've talked about natural assets, we talked about funding and the fiscal assets that we have to maintain. But there's another really key asset that helps us get done all of the great things that we talked about today, and that's our workforce. And so we're gonna talk through today, need the clicker. We're gonna talk through today a little bit about why we think workforce is an important issue that we should all be thinking about. We'll talk through about what BAYWORK is, the organization that we're here representing. And then we're going to talk about a couple key initiatives that BAYWORK has been engaging in. We do a lot of activity around the Bay Area, but we're going to focus on a few key issues that we think the North Bay might be interested in. And we're going to present to you some ideas, some concepts about activities that we think would be valuable to the water and wastewater workforce in the North Bay area, and invite your feedback and comments on if those things meet the mark, if they would be valuable to you and your organizations and your employees, or if you have other ideas that we can collaborate on. And that's really what we want to start building here today, is a bigger, broader collaboration between water and wastewater and water resource agencies across the Bay Area, focusing today on the North Bay. So I mentioned interactivity. We're going to try this, and we're having a little bit of technical difficulties displaying the results today. But if you could pull out your phone and scan this QR code, or you can go to menti.com and type in the access number on the screen. I'll give you a few moments to pull that up. We're going to try to make this interactive. Again, because of technical difficulties, I won't be able to display the results. You'll see some of them on your phone, and we can print them out and share on the NBWA website after the event. So I'll give everyone just a few more moments. All right, so firstly, I'm gonna pop up a question that asks, what is your primary affiliation? And we're just trying to get a sense of who's in the audience here, whether you're a public agency representative or a consultant or other. So go ahead and click on your answers.
Okay.
All right, so for those of you who can't see the results, we are, looks like over 50% public agency representatives, followed by consultants, followed by community-based organizations. and a few others in there as well, including a couple students. So welcome to the students. This talk is geared at you two to understand what jobs are available in water and wastewater and how you can be part of the great things that you've heard here today. Okay, I'm going to switch questions now. And what I'd like you to do is type in 3 words that you know about BAYWORK. And I saw a lot of hands raised, so I expect to see a lot of correct answers here. So again, this would be really awesome if I could share the screen and you could see the word cloud that's building. Let's see, there might be a way to share. Oops. In any event, I saw workforce was number 1. Good, I said that earlier, so good listening. Workforce development, jobs, training, a few people put nothing, which is okay. That's going to change by the end of today. Collaboration is a key aspect of what we do. That cloud came up big. Internships, career development, environmental work, advocacy. So great. Thank you all for participating. Keep that link open on your phones. We're going to have a couple other pauses throughout the afternoon here where we'll revisit that and ask some other questions. Okay, so the first thing we want to start with is, why is this important? And to set the context, I've pulled out 2 recent reports here that talk about the water workforce. The first is a report from the American Water Works Association published last year. It's called The State of the Water Industry. And in this report, they highlighted a ranking of water industry challenges. And so these include all the things that you might expect, right? Aging infrastructure, water supply issues. But out of the top 12, 3 of these really focused on the staffing side of what we do. So number 4, public understanding of the value of water resources. If people don't understand that value, then they don't really think about this as a career they want to go into to help. Number 6, aging workforce and anticipated retirements. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir on this. Those of you public agency representatives who I know are over half of us here, we all have a lot of vacancies. We have trouble finding qualified people to fill our jobs. We also know that our workforce consists of a lot of highly technical, specialized, and certified people that have to go through education and demonstrate experience in order to get licenses, in order to operate our facilities. You can't just pluck someone up off the street and have them fill roles overnight. This has to be a long-term development pipeline. And so that was recognized here with the 6th highest water industry challenge. And then number 12 related to that is talent attraction and retention. So making sure that people know about this industry as a viable career path and that they stay with it because they see potential for growth, potential for career development. These are all things that we as BAYWORK are trying to focus on and help our member agencies, which includes many of your organizations, help you demonstrate that to your staff, that this is a great place to be. You're going to have a good long career. You're going to do exciting projects, and you're going to have a path to grow and develop through your organization. The second report I wanted to highlight is from the California Community College's Centers of Excellence for Labor Market Research, which is a mouthful. They prepared a report in 23 called The Workforce Needs in the Water and Wastewater Industry and highlighted several of these similar challenges. So firstly, that in general, compared to other industries, the water wastewater industry has a relatively aging workforce, and a lot of our staff are eligible for retirement now or very soon. Obviously, this is a problem. If we don't have people coming in to backfill, then we are going to be short-staffed, and we're already seeing that. Furthermore, we're losing that knowledge that's walking out the door. And without people sort of backfilling in advance to take that knowledge from the veterans that have been in the industry for a long time, our knowledge level as an industry is reducing. The second thing they highlighted is workforce diversity and inclusion. So making sure that we're focusing on reaching out to groups of people who we may not have historically reached out to in this industry. We want to make this field accessible for everyone because we need everyone to contribute to it. And then the third element they highlighted, which I think is really important, is just general industry awareness. As I'm sure many of you do, the Fairfield-Suisun Sewer District where I work, we conduct a lot of public tours for elementary and middle school children, and every single one of them that walks in has never considered what happens behind the scenes when they turn on their tap. They definitely have not considered what happens when they flush the toilet. And these are important things, right? We collectively spend a ton of money and energy and resources to do very advanced technological things to make the world work, to make the water clean, to make the wastewater clean. And so we at BAYWORK are really focused on raising awareness of our industry, from children to adults. Everyone needs to be a little more familiar with how our industry works and the technology that goes into it. Yeah, okay. So now I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth, who will talk a little bit more about the water workforce.
So aging workforce and industry awareness. I'm sure none of you have ever struggled with either of those issues, right? In whatever aspect of the work that you're doing, right? So this is not a huge surprise to any of us, right? I'm going to add another one to the mix, which you also may not be too surprised by. In the report from the Centers of Excellence, the community college research arm, for all intents and purposes, the occupational clusters that were the mission critical as determined by the survey results from the hundreds of agencies who responded to the statewide survey. These three groups of workers aren't going to be too surprising either, right? Electrical workers, maintenance workers, operational workers, those tradespeople who have or they're highly skilled, and they often are on the older side, and they're also critical in maintaining our water and wastewater plants, right? And guess what? 13% of all those tradespeople in the state are working in the water wastewater industry. That means that there's a lot of competition for those skilled trades jobs that you're posting. That the competition is coming sometimes from the private sector. Building and construction trades are hiring the very same occupations in many cases. And sometimes it's your public sector peers. Public transit agencies. In some communities, public transit hires 2-3 times as many of these skilled trades workers as water wastewater agencies do. So the concern is that how do we, again, raise awareness of water and wastewater as another career option. And for young people, that is an attractive option, especially those who are focused on the environment, climate resilience, and all of the things that we know are so important to the work that we're doing as an industry. So here's some of the statistics, demographic statistics that came out of this California Centers of Excellence report. And again, this is from 2023, and it was a statewide survey of water wastewater agencies. By the way, if any of your agencies responded to this survey, thank you very much. It was very valuable. The first one is gender. And let me start off by just talking about the left-hand side of this slide. This bar graph is comparing 3 different sets of data. The top bar is community college students in related programs. So for agencies, this is a great sign, right? We have people who are in many cases very close to, or they're studying in colleges, they're very close to where our water wastewater agencies are, and they're studying for trades that are exactly the ones that our water agencies are looking to hire. So we have a pool of talent of people who have, at the very least, some technical skills. I was so glad to see Chris Murray from Santa Rosa JC here, and also certainly the great programming here at Sonoma State. Those are just two examples of college students who are studying in areas that are consistent with your critical skills needs. The second row of this bar graph is California population, just to sort of level set. Where is the population of the state of California? And the third bar is data of mission critical occupations in the water and wastewater industry. And clearly, no surprise here, 6% of people in mission critical jobs in water and wastewater are women. We're not too surprised about, well, anybody here surprised by that? Just look at your skilled trade staff at your agency. Probably don't see a whole lot of women. One of the data points that always sticks in my head is I was talking to somebody in HR with the city and county of San Francisco, pretty big metropolitan area. They hired 200 mechanics. And just a few years ago, they had 0 women in the city and county of San Francisco working as mechanics, even though they hired 200 of them across the city. So that's just one example. That's certainly, a call for us as an industry. How can we do a better job of attracting women to the trades, especially when we think about what high quality jobs these are and how these jobs are really so critical to, supporting families in high cost of living like the Bay Area. We've had some success actually in recruiting women into the training programs leading into these jobs, whether that's internships or pre-apprenticeship programs, or going to our local community colleges and finding women studying machining and interested in the electrical trades. So how do we do a better job of getting them into jobs in water? Age demographics, again, this is sort of building off of what Jordan was just talking about in terms of an aging workforce. But a couple things that I think were interesting about this slide, and again, the columns are the rows on the bar graph are the same as what I talked about before. For those people who are under 24 years of age, the general California population is about 32% of the California population is under the age of 24. But when we look at the percentage of water and wastewater workers who are in these critical need occupations, it's 7%. So that's clearly one area of opportunity. You can look at the data for those who are under 34 years old. You'll see the same disparity. It's not quite as distinct with that age group. And then look at the 50 and older year-old group. The California population, we have about a third of our state that's 50 years or older, and 37% of water and wastewater workers in mission critical occupations are over the age of 50 or 50 or older. And that's entirely consistent with what we're hearing from agencies about their retirement risk, that in many critical roles like operators, a third of their workforce is eligible to retire. So, or sometimes even more than that, more than a third. So this is certainly one of the things that we want to certainly be aware of and figure out better ways to address. And then the final demographics slide is really on race and ethnicity. And when you look at this slide, the overall alignment with the California population is, it's pretty well aligned. But when you look at the occupations that generally have the highest level of wages for entry-level occupations, those folks tend to be more white. And for those occupations like the maintenance workers and the repair workers that tend to be on the lower side in terms of entry-level wages, they tend to be more likely to be Hispanic or Latino workers. So there's some racial and ethnic disparity there. But I think the most important thing to think about with this slide is the opportunity that we as an industry have to engage those frontline communities in these critical jobs. These are, again, like I said before, high quality jobs leading to really family sustaining wages. And what can we do to reach those communities and engage them in working in our industry?
Great. So here, 15 minutes into our presentation, we're finally going to tell you what BAYWORK is and what we do. So BAYWORK is a collaboration of today about 43 water and wastewater utilities around the Bay Area, all focused on workforce reliability. And our mission really is to strengthen our workforce collectively, collaboratively, to sort of minimize the burden on individual agencies to have to do parallel efforts. Let's work together. We all have the same message. We're all in generally disparate geographies, not fighting against each other. So let's work together to solve the problems. Our kind of favorite slogan to say is that you can't have operational reliability without workforce reliability. To that point I tried to make earlier, we rely on our people to do all of the things that we've talked about today. And if we have 50% vacancies, we're not going to be able to chase the grants. We're not going to be able to repair the infrastructure. We're not going to be able to operate treatment plants and meet our compliance limits. So we want to, really focus on the operational need of a strong workforce. Some of our other goals are, as we talked about, strengthening the diversity, equity, and inclusion of our workforce, and of providing opportunities for staff to learn new things, to grow and develop. And so our work, which we'll get into some key areas of our work here in the next few minutes, really we are focused on supporting agencies to help with recruitment, to help with outreach, to help with development of qualified candidates for their job positions. And then we're also focused on the staff that already work at our agencies. How do we develop them, train them in new skills? And we'll talk through some of those examples, some of the events we put on and trainings we put on to help support that here shortly. And then Elizabeth will touch on some of the replication efforts that have happened around the state and country.
So, BAYWORK has been around for what I think about 13 years or so. And as Jordan mentioned, 43 water and wastewater agencies around the Bay Area are members of BAYWORK. Many of you in the room are from those agencies. Thank you for your support of BAYWORK. And what I would say is that about 7 years ago, BAYWORK joined efforts with a highly reputable workforce development community-based organization, JVS, Jewish Vocational Service, who has a 50+ year history of developing training programs and working with industry sectors like healthcare and technology to build the next generation of workforce for those industries. And BAYWORK and JVS got to talking about some of the same issues that we're talking about today, and began partnering on grants, and have subsequently brought in millions of dollars in grants, mostly from the state, some from federal sources, some from private foundations, and has really put a lot of the training efforts that BAYWORK is involved in sort of on steroids. And it was really critical that partnership with JVS was really critical because JVS has the grant writing capacity. The session that we had earlier today about grant writing, a lot of those grant sources look really familiar to us because we have submitted grants to those very same organizations, like EPA is one example. And that additional funding coming in to support, especially the work that we're doing to bring new workers into the industry, has been a critical part of the success of BAYWORK and of JVS, to be quite honest. And we have some really beautiful success stories around that work. In part because of the success of BAYWORK as a consortium, and in part because of the combination of the work with JVS and our community colleges, we have been over the last few years getting inquiries from all over the place, namely the Inland Empire, who approached us and said, hey, we're having some of the same issues with our workforce in water and wastewater as you are in the Bay Area. Let's go after some grant funding to do similar work in the Inland Empire. Thus was born IE Works. And so we've been doing that similar work that we're doing here in the Bay Area, now in the Inland Empire, for the last 3 years, working with organizations like Metropolitan Water, Inland Empire Utilities Agencies, and several other organizations. So in addition to that, just last year, we were approached by the California Municipal Utilities Association about an opportunity to replicate this work statewide. So JVS, BAYWORK, IWorks, and CMUA got together along with some other organizations like Aqua and some great employer partners as well. Went after some funding, got some funding to do some more of this work. The first place that the CMUA-led project is targeting is LA and Orange County. So slowly but surely, we're trying to replicate this work that our North Bay partners and broader partners around the Bay Area have seen in action for 13 years, and it's going statewide. Then there are the conversations with South Carolina and New England, where there are consortia that are coming together and asking for basically to share for BAYWORK to share best practices with them as well. So we just wanted to sort of raise that up as well as something that we all in our community should be proud of. So one of the initiatives, now we're getting into some of the answers part of our presentation. One of the initiatives that BAYWORK has pursued is something called stackable internships. You probably have all heard about internships, and you may think of internships as being a 3-month, summer-long internship with, local college students. And we've done a lot of that work, to be quite honest. Both BAYWORK has, agencies have, and there wasn't anything necessarily terrible about that option. But what we were hearing from agencies is increasingly 3 months is barely enough time to get people through an orientation process, much less have the opportunity for those students to be able to demonstrate productive value. And that productive value is really what agencies wanted to see if they were going to think about having that intern continue working for them in either as a longer internship or maybe moving into some sort of a trainee position. So we said, well, what about if we did a stackable internship where we looked at an internship for a student that was actually a year long, and instead of it being one agency doing the training, what about if we had that student rotating through 2 or maybe even more agencies during the course of that year, so that student could get maybe 1,500, 1,800 hours over the course of a year of paid work experience at 2 or more agencies? Would that improve their chances of getting jobs in the water, especially if they've developed, a strong interest in working in water as a career? And so we're in our 2nd year of doing the stackable internship. Our focus is really on the same high demand trades positions that we've been talking about this afternoon. And we're seeing a lot of success with those students who have who are with agencies for 5 to 6 months in paid work and are focused on a specific trade like instrumentation or operator kinds of roles. And then the partnerships with the community colleges has just been critical to this work. We're recruiting heavily from our local community college trades training programs and other folks as well. But the community colleges are really where we try to pull as many of the interns from as possible. And this picture here, by the way, is of an intern, Ibrahim Mohammed on the left. And he is an intern at Contra Costa Water as an instrumentation tech. And he's being supervised here by Rodney Johnson, who's an instrument tech at Contra Costa Water. And they're at a plant in Oakley, and they're working on a piece of maintenance. They're doing a maintenance check on a sensor there. So anyway, it's a great example of success in that program.
So spawning out of the stackable internships, the next initiative we want to talk about that, again, we think is probably of interest to a lot of folks in the North Bay as well, is how do we align our efforts and partner between our agencies, between the different collaboratives like the North Bay Watershed Association that we all work with and are a part of, and consolidate our efforts to achieve the same goals. And in this case, I want to highlight one effort that's been ongoing between BAYWORK, between BAYWORK, which is the Bay Area Consortium for Water and Wastewater Education, and BAYWOK, which is the Bay Area Clean Water Agencies, and hopefully adding the NBWA to this conversation, because we need some more not B acronyms to simplify the equation here. So now that we got the alphabet soup out of the way, what we've been focused on is raising awareness and building the educational capacity of candidates to enter jobs in our field. Historically, BAYWORK has been operating about as long as BAYWORK has, since the mid-2000s, and it has been public agencies paying into a fund that supports the education of students in water and wastewater, again, generally focused on operator, mechanic, electrician, skilled trades type jobs. That work for the majority of its existence was in partnership with Solano Community College in Fairfield. So students would take classes at Solano or take classes hosted through Solano, but actually at local water and wastewater agencies. Dublin San Ramon down in the East Bay did a lot, Central San and Martinez, Fairfield-Suisun Sewer District, a couple others. Sorry if I left you out. But to spread the education around the Bay Area and try to reach a broader audience. Now that worked great for a long time. Recently, I'll say in the last 5 years, we found that enrollments were down. We weren't filling the classes that we were hosting in water and wastewater related topics. And the other thing we were seeing is, and I taught some of these classes, and I would stand there after class and I would have a line of 7, 8 students there to tell me that they had applied to 25 internships, to 50 entry-level operator jobs across the state. They didn't have their license yet because, to get a license, you need some experience to go with the education. And they were just frustrated and felt like they were at a dead end and never going to get into the field. And based on the statistics that Elizabeth just showed us, that's really bad for us. We need to catch these people and find a pathway for them to get in. So this partnership initiative that I'm talking about now is really an attempt to re-envision that program. For a long time, we didn't even have people interested in the field. So the education funnel was really our focus. And now we want to shift that focus to more along the lines of on-the-job experience, internships, trainee programs. How can we take the students that are engaged in the field already and actually get them into the field, filling some of those employment needs that we all have? Let's see. We are aware, talking with Andy, that North Bay Watershed Association is beginning a workforce development initiative, a focus to really think about workforce. And so we would love to partner with your agencies to have you part of that conversation, to think about, what are your needs? How can we help support this career pipeline from, high school students sitting there wondering what you're going to do with your life to long-term career wastewater mechanic, for example. So to highlight some of the thoughts, and this program is very much in its infancy, this brainstorm effort. So just wanted to highlight some of the things we're thinking about, and I won't read every word on these slides because there's a lot, but continuing what BAYWORK has done traditionally of financially supporting students. We know even though community colleges are affordable in the grand scheme of American higher education, they're still not in reach for every student. And so we want to make sure that, again, to broaden our reach and to draw from the largest pool, we want to make sure that there's no financial barriers to people who are excited about water and wastewater to get into our field. We want to help people through their technical certifications. There's a lot of detailed knowledge you need to know to pass your drinking water treatment operator 2 exam, right? If you don't have those resources, this partnership of BAYWORK and BAYWOK, we want to help train people and prepare them for those exams. We really want to support getting people into jobs, so supporting internships. One of the things we're playing around with is public agencies are obviously limited in resources, right? We can't always offer paid internships because we don't have the budget or we don't have the board support. But what we're hoping we can do collaboratively and collectively is perhaps BAYWORK or BAYWOK or one of our partner agencies can help provide a stipend to students who can go take a volunteer internship position at some of our agencies. So the agencies aren't paying out of pocket themselves, but we're sort of collectively funding the career advancement of these students, excuse me. Continuing the outreach piece is also really important. So, I mentioned we have more students enrolled in water and wastewater classes than we did 15 years ago. But if we let off the gas pedal, that's going to dry up over the next 5 to 10 years. So we really want to keep reaching out to high school guidance counselors so that they help make students aware of this path that, doesn't necessarily require a 4-year college degree, but provides really well-paying, good benefits jobs that you can make a career out of. We've focused over the last several years on trying to outreach to veterans groups. In Fairfield, where I work, we have Travis Air Force Base, great instrument technicians, electricians. There's some really qualified and really well-trained skilled tradespeople coming out of the military. How can we make them aware of the water and wastewater industry so that if they end their tenure in the military in Fairfield and decide the Bay Area is a nice place to live and they want to stick around, how can we get them into our jobs? And one of the other things that we've talked a lot about is the shifting the focus and the messaging of water and wastewater jobs. So I think historically, it was enough to say, hey, we pay pretty good and you might get a CalPERS pension at the end, and that's pretty good, right? And I think that spoke to a lot of us, and that speaks to a lot of our current employees. What we're finding is that alone doesn't necessarily speak to the next generation. We should really be playing up the environmental sustainability that we all talk about, that we've spent much of today talking about, right? How do we maintain and enhance our natural resources? How do we protect public health and the environment? Be a part of this really green industry that we're all a part of. And then some administrative things that are less exciting, but really important to making a successful program, like who's going to administer it, who's going to help navigate all of these students to internships. That's a piece we have to figure out, because as a basically all volunteer organization, BAYWORK doesn't exactly have a lot of people sitting around looking for more work. So that's an important part of making this all successful. And so with that, we'll turn it over to Steve, we didn't forget about you down there at the end of the table.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Those industry partnerships, NBWA, BACWA, and other water and wastewater agencies or groups, they're so important to address the workforce challenges that were described in the early parts of our presentation from the data and the AWWA report and the CCCOE report. And I think partnerships is kind of the word of the day. I've been hearing it throughout the day here. There's a popular saying, often vaguely attributed to African proverb. Maybe you've heard of it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And this work, we've got a lot of work to do. We got a long way to go. This is a marathon for sure, but it's a marathon that started yesterday. It started 2 weeks ago, actually. We got to catch up. We got to go fast and we got to go far. As a novice snowboarder that likes to hit the slopes with my friends who are expert skiers, I'm going to propose a slight revision to that saying, if you want to go fast and far, go with someone that knows what they're doing. Go with someone that has that knows the terrain. Go with someone that knows what they're doing and has been doing it for years. So I propose that what I'm talking about is partnering with a broader set of community organizations. And these are organizations in our community that are doing workforce development work. They're connecting people with jobs and careers. They're helping people grow and develop. And there's two sets of partners that I'm talking about. Education partners, our two-year colleges, community colleges, junior colleges, whatever you want to call them, our four-year colleges and universities, our local unified school districts, regional occupational programs and adult schools. And I'm also talking about our workforce partners. And this covers a broad set of organizations that do the work, from workforce development boards and community job centers to community-based organizations that run job training programs, workforce intermediaries like JVS, programs like CiviCorps, which are Job Corps network programs that provide on-the-job training to young people 18 to 26 years old, as well as Cypress Mandela Training Center and other construction pre-apprenticeship programs. What does that partnership look like? These pictures on the slide give you a sense of what they can look like. That top picture is Dale, one of our instrument techs, working with an intern from the Los Medanos College E-Tech program. That's a partnership with Los Medanos College, BAYWORK, JVS, and multiple water and wastewater agencies working together. That bottom left picture is Chris, one of our treatment operators at CCWD. And he's talking to students, current students from Antioch High School, his alma mater, the high school he graduated from. And they're learning from him about what those careers can look like. And that last slide at the bottom center, that's Yvette Arroyo Argadano and Steve Addison from the CiviCorps program. And I already talked about the CiviCorps program, but they have contracts with two different water and wastewater agencies in the East Bay doing landscaping, land management work. And they're also learning about and working side by side in some at times with our CCWD and East Bay Mud staff. So they're learning about these careers and they're getting work experience. And our supervisors are watching their work ethic and watching the work that they do. So it's a great partnership there. What's not a picture that's not on here is the Cypress Mandela training program. And that's a partnership that we build to the point where they established a corner of their training center, big warehouse in East Oakland. Corner of their training center is dedicated to water and wastewater careers. So people can learn hands-on and see what pipes look like under the ground. And there are similar programs here in the North Bay, whether it's North Bay Job Corps or Conservation Corps or North Bay TIP Trades Intro program. So these are certainly replicable in the North Bay. On the next slide, The next slide, we want to hear from you. So get your phones out again, and Jordan's going to lead us through our next Mentimeter poll.
So it should be up on your phone. If it's not, refresh. That seems to fix most of the problems. So the next question is, who are the critical partners in the North Bay that we should be talking to, that we should be working with? That might be your individual agency. If you're liking what you're hearing and want to get involved, put in your agency. If you know other industry or workforce partners that we should be talking to, write it down. Put each one separately, and you can submit as many answers as you'd like. And I'll just leave this up for the next few minutes. So even as we keep talking, feel free to keep adding additional partners. Let's see what's coming in. City of Napa, Marin Water, the unions, College of Marin, lots of cities, Napa County Workforce Alliances. Excellent. This is great. And again, we will try to print these results and share them somehow so you can all see, since we can't display them.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this is not just an exercise for this room. We're taking this feedback, and we'll be developing our plan with how we'll work together along with our North Bay water and wastewater agencies. I think on the next slide, so we're going to ask you for some more input again. And we want first to kind of describe a proposed plan, and we'll get your feedback on this. I'd like to propose a plan for workforce development collaboration in the North Bay that includes both candidate development and staff development, staff preparedness. First, on candidate development, let's coordinate on career fairs. Let's go to career outreach events together. And this is something that we've done through BAYWORK, especially in the East Bay. We've done that with a lot of our other sister agencies, where we'll either send staff to provide support and staffing for a BAYWORK table, or we'll have a BAYWORK table and we'll have an East Bay Mud table and a Contra Costa Water District table and a Central Sand. And then we kind of take over a section of the career fair. It just increases the impact that we have. Also, we can talk about strategically, what are the events, what are the career fairs that we want to show up to and coordinate around. So that's one idea. Another idea is leveraging the career awareness campaigns that we've already started some of these with BAYWORK, and you can see on the upper right-hand corner of that slide some of the web pages that we have on the BAYWORK website, reaching out to specific audiences. Audiences love it when you tailor your messaging to them rather than making a general message. So we've tailored messages for veterans, we've tailored messages for women, and we've tailored messages for teachers and students. Let's talk about what's going to be most effective in the North Bay. Which career awareness campaigns should we lean into? How can our North Bay agencies help promote those? And then finally, stackable internships. Elizabeth did a great job talking about the stackable internships program. It's been a game changer just in terms of advancing our career pathways and some of the barriers to career pathways for entry-level folks into our East Bay agencies. I think it could be really effective here in the North Bay as well. But we really want to hear from you, especially those of you that are representing North Bay water and wastewater agencies. So I think, before we ask for your input, I'm going to tell you about the second part, which is the staff development and staff preparedness part. We've got a workshop on wheels coming up that's already planned. I've got the flyer here. If you haven't grabbed one from our table. Wednesday, May 22nd, we're visiting 4 different agencies. Get on the bus. It's a great professional development opportunity for folks really at different levels and different occupations from our water and wastewater agencies. It is open to any of our member agencies. If you're not a member agency, you want to get on, you've got to talk to Elizabeth. Maybe we'll make an exception for you. But that's a good time. We always get great feedback about our workshop on wheels. You get to see 4 different facility tours on one day. You get lunch. You got great networking. We'll also want to make sure that the North Bay is connected to our virtual mentoring event that's coming up. Where's that? Here's my flyer for that one. If you haven't grabbed that one, it looks kind of like this.
And these flyers should be on your table. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, they may be on your table. If not, they're back on the BAYWORK table in the other room. And that mentoring event is virtual. You can attend from anywhere. We've begun this BAYWORK camp. It's a great acronym, cross-agency mentorship program. So sign up for BAYWORK camp. You should come to our speed mentoring event. We're opening it up to students now so that we can get more mentees. I can tell you, I'm a mentor and a mentee for the BAYWORK camp program. And I'm not sure which one I get more value out of, being a mentor or being a mentee, but it's been incredibly insightful for me to be part of that program. And we want North Bay to be involved too, North Bay agencies and North Bay students. What else do we have up there? Staff training workshops. So those can be in-person workshops. That top picture in the middle is a workshop that was done up here in the North Bay. I believe it was a couple of years ago. We can do virtual workshops. We all know what those look like. We can also show up to your employee events. If you're an organization that has safety or wellness fairs for your employees, we can bring BAYWORK to table there and make sure that your staff know about the staff training and professional development opportunities that are available to them. So, and then you may have other ideas for staff preparedness, staff development, or candidate development and outreach. We want to hear those. Get your phones out again. And Jordan's going to lead us through kind of the next Mentimeter poll.
So back to the phone. So we'll see how this works. We tried to make this exciting, right? So we did different ways to engage. So this next one is list some of the ideas that Stephen just walked through, and we'd like your feedback on ranking those. What sounds the most exciting to you and what sounds the least valuable? And that'll help us prioritize what sorts of things we focus on in the North Bay. So I'll give you just a minute or two to check those out.
So you're gonna drag your options up to your ranking section, and then you can actually go through the process of putting them in order if you'd like as well.
Everyone sees the list, right? It's coming up. I was going to give you the front runner, but it's changing rapidly. All right, so keep voting, but so far by a large margin, stackable internship program is coming out on top. We kind of thought it might. That's a really valuable program, and if we can get several agencies involved and committed to it, we can, bring a lot of prospective employees into our field. Career awareness campaigns and the workshop on wheels are rounding out the top 3 right now, which again, those are our long-standing activities that everyone gets excited about. So glad to hear it. As Stephen said, a workshop on wheels in the North Bay opportunity next month. So stop by our table, talk to us about it, and sign up for it, and sign up your staff. And so I'll switch to the next question, which is just another free response. If you have any other ideas, what have we not talked about that you think would be really valuable for engaging your staff, for getting raising awareness of the industry, or bringing people into the industry? So I'll give everyone just a moment or two to add their thoughts. While you're doing that, I'm going to comment on one that just got submitted, was how to train interns, which is an interesting topic that we've struggled with, I think, as an industry. It's great to say, let's bring on, 10 interns, but whose operations supervisors have a lot of spare time? Nobody, right? They're very busy. So trying to build the supervisor and mentorship capacity at our organizations in order to support bringing more trainees on is a challenge, and something that I think we all need to think about, and something that we're thinking about. We do have a internship guide that BAYWORK put together 6-7 years ago, probably about due for an update. But if you go to the BAYWORK website, baywork.org, search for internship guide, you can find that there. That has a framework. If you don't have any internship program and don't even know how to start, that gives you a framework for what things to think about and how to set that up.
And I would just add about that, our experience in working with agencies in the East Bay is that there's a mixture of, we have 5 or 6 agencies that are participating in the stackable internship program. We have everything from East Bay Mud, who has a very well-developed training program. They're very familiar with internship and other trainee kinds of programs. And then we have other agencies who have never had internship programs before. I'm going to point to my colleague here, Steve Currie, who is at Contra Costa Water. Hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn here, Stephen, but I would say that in essence, Contra Costa Water is using their experience with the stackable internships to help build a training, an intern training infrastructure. And the nice thing about that is that BAYWORK is taking the lead on the outreach to the students and is helping to lead the selection process and the interview process. And so some of the administrative burden is being borne by BAYWORK. And then if you have a partnership with your local community college, like Santa Rosa JC, often the community colleges have infrastructure in place to help support the paying of benefits like workers' comp through a third-party employer of record kind of arrangement. They call it different things, but that's also something that is a resource that's out there that might be helpful for those of you who are new to the internship work.
Great. So the last thing as we close, I'm just going to leave this one open. So feel free to fill it out now or over the next 20 minutes or so, or as long as it takes for Mentimeter to time out. It's just a little survey. If you're interested in connecting with us and joining our mailing list and learning more and helping with some of these events in the North Bay, helping bring the excitement that I think we've grown around a lot of these events in the East Bay and the Peninsula and shift them north, we'd love to have you. So please fill out that poll and let us know your email and that you're interested. And with that, that wraps up our presentation. On this slide is all of our email addresses if you want to reach out and learn more, as well as Robert Scott from Valley Water, who's the president of BAYWORK but couldn't be here today. So we're all more than happy to talk to you about any of the things we've discussed today. We do have a table in the back room, sort of towards the front of the room. So feel free to stop by and chat more. And with that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Hello. It's on? Yep. I'm Amber Maggie. I'm a student here at Sonoma State University. And I was wondering if you would recommend your workshop on wheels for students, or if that's more for people who have experience in the field already.
Boy, that is a great question. And the answer is a big yes. We would love to have students on the bus. The Workshop on Wheels is a charter bus. We have 56 seats in the bus, and we really want to prioritize getting students on that bus for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which is increasing the students' familiarity with what happens at water and wastewater agencies on a typical day, and also because also on that bus are going to be operators, engineers, other operations folks, AGMs are sometimes on the bus. So it gives students an opportunity to talk to people who've been working in the industry for a little while. And so it's a great opportunity. So a big yes. And just take take a flyer and register with the QR code. Anybody in the room can register for any of the events that BAYWORK is offering. Other questions?
Thank you, Megan Clark again. I had a question that's not with, I don't think it's within your purview, but the question is, once you are already hired as a wastewater or water professional, what can you do about the glass ceiling? Should I explain that, or is it pretty well known?
Well,
I mean, I have one idea is get connected to a network. So one of the programs that we're promoting is our virtual mentoring program. So it's actually started with our women's group, our women in trades group, and they asked that we coordinate a mentoring program that women can connect to other women in the industry. That was such a popular and effective program that we said, actually, we need to expand this beyond just women. But women can connect specifically to women. Women mentees can ask for women mentors. You can ask for folks that are in the career path that you're seeking. And I think that's some of the most valuable experience or insights you can get is one-on-one from a mentor. And you can connect with multiple mentors too, because sometimes it's helpful to have multiple perspectives from different women working in different agencies. So that's what I would say. Yeah, or men, yeah.
Excuse me. Do you all have meetings of all of your mentees periodically, once a month, once a week, whatever, when they get together and just discuss their experiences?
We haven't done that so far. And we've kind of designed the program to be very flexible, which means it also doesn't have a ton of structure. And I think as we build out the program, if our mentees or our mentors are asking for some additional support or structure, we're happy to provide that. So it's really driven by kind of the demand. So far, we haven't received that request, but we're continually building. It's a pilot, so we're adapting to what the needs are.
But we'd love your employees at your agencies to join the program as a mentor or a mentee, build the pool so that we have a good network that they can all build and learn from each other.
All right. I want to thank Jordan, Elizabeth, and Stephen and BAYWORK for the work that you do. And it's obviously vital for all of us and our partnership. However, we can deepen that and make it more successful. We will all be for the better. And for your time today to join us, and looking forward to networking with everybody after this.